My name is Diane McNair, and I've come to you today with some powerful information that you don't know about, which would surprise you to find that you have an advocate in a place that you have probably come to loathe in recent years. But because I worked there and I did perform the services I'm about to tell you, I think you'll be interested and you will see the value it will have. It's critical information. So, I came upon the information I'm about to tell you by working on Capitol Hill. I worked there at a time when, at least from the surface waters that I could see, everything was upright, honorable, and actually dedicated to the needs of the people. So, I came upon an opportunity to fill in for a lady who was leaving, and this was in Senator Sam Nunn's office. I found out that what she's doing is called casework. As I delved into it and learned the process, I was shocked to find out that, unknown to most of us, did you know that the United States Congress, your House of Representatives member or your United States Senator, can actually jump in to a situation you may have with our system and make the crooked places straight? Did you know that they have the power and the mandate and the authority to step in on your behalf when the system of our government has failed you, disserved you, underserved you, or not served you at all? Let me give you an example. This is something that I have been doing since I retired from Congress. There is a man who for 9 years was receiving the wrong Social Security retirement amount. He had medical affidavits, that were about 1.5 feet of paperwork confirming that he could not work. He had been a school teacher for 30 years, and he applied for disability retirement and was denied. He went for the appeal that they allow you to have, and he was denied. In a conversation I had with him, which is how I find most of my people that I want to help, I told him what I know, and that he should not find a lawyer to fight this. He should actually let me pave the way and use our own federal representatives. We pay taxes. They are public servants. Many are lawyers licensed in their various states. Let's take it to the Hill and see what happens. So he did. We went through the process, getting the paperwork, building the case, and I took it to his then congressman. It turns out, I'm going to fast forward because I don't want to hold you hostage, but it turns out after a series of back and forth interchanges or exchanges by email and letter, the Social Security Administration made a mistake. They had the wrong Social Security number in their system for him, thereby denying him the proper disability retirement he deserved. The Congressional office, that is the congressman, ordered the Social Security Administration to come back to the table, revisit the case, because they could not justify why he had been denied. In the end, this is the good part. He had been getting the wrong Social Security benefit amount for 9 years. 9 years. So what happens? They're giving him the Social Security benefit amount of an erroneous person, the wrong person. And so what they had to do was give him retroactive pay, 9 years worth of the difference. If they paid him X amount, but he was due Y amount, they took that difference and multiplied it by 12 months to represent a year, and then multiplied that amount by 9. to represent the 9 years. So that was a win. That was a Super Bowl win for me and for him. A second example of what I've done since retiring from Capitol Hill was to help a lady who called me hysteric, in a state of, I'd say she was hysterical. She had been fired with no, notice, no indication that this was going to happen. And she asked me what could she do. Now everyone knows with employee rights and violations of them, you can go to the EEOC. Do know that when you do, it will take months, many months. They are handling thousands to the hundreds of thousands of cases. If you take it to your member on Capitol Hill, it can happen in as short as 3 months. Back to the lady who had suddenly lost her job. I called the mayor's office. There's a reason. What I did not explain to you is Capitol Hill, the staff that deals with constituent services only deal with federal level violations against us, the people. When it comes to a university, which was her case, I needed a city official level to go to. Same thing, different house. So I called the mayor's office of D.C. and I was told what their process is, and what made me so happy was to find out that D.C. follows federal law. Therefore, I had the federal, I shouldn't say ammunition, that might be a bad choice of words these days, but I had the federal power of information and a city government that ties into that. So I took this young lady through the processes, and in the end, you'll know what they denied her when I tell you what she got. She was given 4 months back pay for having been wrongly terminated. She was given 4 months unemployment compensation because the university she worked for clamped down on that too. And then she was offered her job back. So to put that in perspective, the university was told to give her money, 4 months worth, to give her money, 4 months worth, unemployment and salary, back pay, and to give her job back. The smartest thing she did was to decline the job. As we all know, if you reach over the fence to pet the dog and he bites you once, that's your fault. If you reach again, that's their fault. If you reach again, that's your fault. So if you find yourself in a place where you are maligned, destroyed, diminished, or whatever, you don't go back. And she asked me what to do, and I gave her my honest opinion. But she had already made up her mind she would not accept that job. She's doing fine, living well now. But I told you those two to give you an example of the kind of assistance you can get from your member office or Senate office if your dilemma is a result of failure on the part of the system, a corporation, a company's HR policies, veterans who seek their disability ratings are sometimes shortchanged. And some of you may know of that. You may know of people. You may even have family members who, for instance, are given 10% disability, that's in benefits, veterans benefits, because they lost a hand. But they might give 50% to someone who lost a finger. It's flipped. It's not always fair or equitable. I worked for 10 years in the United States Senate for various senators and a committee, a joint committee. And then I transferred to the House of Representatives in Washington, where I worked for 4 different members in a total of 12 years. So I have roughly 22 years congressional. Never mind before that. That was federal government, Howard University, National Academy of Sciences. That doesn't count. That prepared me for where I was going. Each level you'll find in life does that. But to the description of a congressional office of the type I'm sharing with you, one side of Congress deals with legislation, the stuff you see on the news every day. The side I deal with covers the people. And they use the laws that they wrote that the president in times past have signed into law in order to stand up for your rights and to make sure that you don't fall through the cracks. So here's a congressional office for you. The main office deals with legislation, politics, and people. But the people aspect is still tied in with the politics and the legislation, such as lobbyists, corporate firms who have interest in the laws or the bills, the legislation that they write up, in hopes that it will benefit their industry, that kind of thing. So the people aspect are really wrapped up into the legislative process because they're after something. And it may be good and beneficial to the nation, or it may only be beneficial to that industry. That's a congressional office. They deal with meetings, hearings, speaking engagements, voting, putting packages together so that when they go to vote, they understand every tenet of that particular piece of legislation so that they can make the best choice in their vote, yay or nay. In the Congress, on the House side, I was executive assistant, scheduler, deputy office manager, special events coordinator, office operations assistant, if you will, and constituent liaison, as well as dealing with the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department, you name it. The executive assistant has a hand in it because they either have to make it happen or be a part of the process to bringing it about. Just imagine all of that. It's like confetti. On the hill, you'll find out what you're made of. If you didn't know walking in the door, you'll find out once you're there. Because it is the one place that challenges you to the point of excitement because you want to see if you can make it happen. On the side I really want to point out this evening is the constituent services side. It's a different stage. It's a different theater. It doesn't have anything to do with politics. It has to do with two things. Were you wronged? What particular rights were violated? What particular laws were violated with regard to what happened to you? And when they put all of that together, they are able to quickly determine, yes, there is a misstep here. You were shortchanged. You were not served. You were misserved. You were disserved. Anything that means you fell through the cracks. Whether it be by, and I'm going to say this, incompetence, just overloaded with work, oversight, it can happen. The point is, you've been victimized. And their job in that other theater that I'm telling you about called field service representatives, casework, constituent services, they are the foot soldiers that go to work and actually go to battle on your behalf. I learned a lot, and I learned it in the Senate before I came to the House side. I decided whenever I left that I was going to bring this information to the front porches and living rooms of America. And so I did 9 years ago. I put together a website. I've had a few, like 3. Now the name of the website is www.peoplesrightsadvocate.com. In it, I give you an overview of what services are available. There are so many, but I don't want to hold you hostage by outlining everything. You can feel free to view the website. My contact information is there, and I'll be able to talk with you directly on any questions you may have. And here's the fun part. I help people for free. I've done it. I've been doing that for 9 years. The gentleman that got his back pay, no charge. The lady who got her job offered back, the back pay on unemployment and the back pay and salary, no charge. There have been others. Hers was a trifecta. That was a triple win. I do it that way because it's giving back to the people what I learned freely as a course of action and a profession in my job in the Senate. And I knew that it was powerful enough to share because most people don't know what to do when they have no defense. Well, I worked there long enough to know that you do have an advocate, and it's in your Congress. I worked there long enough to know that I can be your message bearer to bring your case to your proper congressman or senator. And I also coined a mantra based on what I did for about 5 years, 5 of my 10 years in the U.S. Senate. Here it is. No is not final answer. It isn't. That's something we could attach to life issues as well. But I'll come back at a later date and bring that to you. I want you to understand that the purpose of this video is merely to get the word out by means other than my speaking engagements, which I've been blessed to have, my website, and me just talking to people. I need something that I can put out there where millions will see it. Oh, let me give you one caveat. There's not a string attached, but there is a condition. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You cannot be here on a work visa or any of the others that allow you temporary residency in the U.S. You must be a U.S. citizen because you are the one that that senator or congressperson represents in their offices as they go about their daily duties. The other thing I'd like to let you know is you cannot come to them until you've been to the agency that offended you. You have to go through the process. But after that, you are free to bring it then because you can say, I approached them, I presented my case, they denied me. Now you can go to your member of Congress. If you have gotten a lawyer, you can't come to Congress. That has to do with the separation of powers. Nothing to do with separation of church and state. It's separation of powers. The executive branch cannot, although we see it happening, interfere with the activities of the legislative branch, which is the Congress, and the legislative branch cannot interfere with or try to influence the judicial branch. You know there are 3 branches of government. Executive, which is the White House, and all the president's men, the cabinet members. The U.S. Congress, House and Senate, that's the legislative branch. And the Supreme Court and all the other courts, that's the judicial branch. And if you've gotten a lawyer, it has now gone legal. And once it's in a legal stage, they can't interfere. That's why I explained the 3 and the separation of powers. I could tell you several more. I will share one more that had to do with a health care issue, wherein a gentleman who works for the Congressional Black Caucus and had moved over to working for an actual congressional office lost his leg. He needed a prosthetic leg, and Social Security and Social Services denied him. He called me. We talked. I got all the information. I have a notebook of people I've spoken to. And to fast forward, so I won't hold you hostage, I keep saying that, I'm trying to wrap this up and yet bring you the best nuggets from what I have to share. Fast forward, I took it to Senator Barbara Mikulski. I'm so pleased to have worked for her as well when I was in the Senate. And so sorry she's gone, because she was a strong advocate for the people. And she wasn't afraid to stand her ground. I took his case to her. Within 3 months, he emailed me and then called me to tell me he got his prosthetic leg. And now he's able to navigate and even drive his car. The point of originated problem, if a state organization, a state company whose company is grounded in Maryland, then the state legislature can address that as well. If any part sits on federal land, back to that young lady who was terminated from the university, Washington, D.C. is what? Federal land, which is why D.C. follows the federal mandates and rules that have been set. The moral of my story in sharing this with you matches the mantra I came up with, because no matter what the obstacle looks like, there's always a power higher that can put that misstep in check. I won't go spiritual on you with this, but it applies there too. No matter what it looks like, never give up, never roll over and play dead. Find out what your options are. Talk to people. Research, because there's always a way to untangle your foot from the miry muck that the system may throw you in. There's always a way to extricate yourself from the stronghold that the system has put around you. Do you know that there are people whose case has lain in a dead file for years? I happened to meet a woman through the phone who saw me on Comcast Newsmakers. I went to Delaware for this same type of presentation. It might have been a little better than the one I'm doing now, but still, it's just us, right? She called to tell me that they keep running her around, and she can't get to the bottom, and she can't get any one person to tell her who's handling that case for her and her son, a disability, Social Security disability case. I met a congressman who represented Delaware, a town in Delaware where she lived, so she was his constituent. And what I do is I draft an email. I get all your information about your case and where you believe it went wrong and why you want to fight it. Then I contact your congressman or senator. You tell me which side of Congress you want to deal with. I outlay everything, and I lay emphasis on the parts that clearly show that you've been disserved, that your case has been misinterpreted and has been actually dismissed as not valid. I lay on those, I highlight those, and I give my contact information. I let them know I used to be a part of them. I did the work. Here's a constituent of yours who, da-da-da-da-da. They usually contact me or email me back and ask me for more information or contact information for their constituent, and they take it from there. But I bring it to their doorstep. And so, in doing so, I feel a sense of a reward. I feel like I won when you win. Because if you need it, I need you to have it. I've seen too many people fall. I've seen too many people settle and think that they have no way out, but yes, you do. So I think with that being said, I wanted to give you an overview, some serious examples of people whose circumstances were very dire and that I was able to help. Let me tell you something before I go. When I got that job on Capitol Hill, I thought it was a mistake. I saw this is off the cuff but still related. I want you to see how my life has come together with no orchestration on my part. And I hope you don't mind. I was out of work. The one-year grant job at Howard University had ended, and the rent would be due soon. I saw a 2-line ad in a newspaper that said, secretary typist needed, 70 words a minute, dictaphone. I got that. Oh, did I speak loud enough? I got that. So it was a Saturday. I couldn't wait for Monday so that I could call them. Monday finally came. I called the office and asked if that announcement was still valid. Is the vacancy still open? Yes was the answer. Would I like to interview? Would I like to apply? Yes. When can you come in? Now? So they gave me an appointment the next day. I came in. I had a wonderful interview. I was a little surprised. Oh, okay. You see, I was a government girl, having worked many places where there's a fine, diverse mixture of everybody. But when it came to Capitol Hill, I thought it was an elite bubble that some people just couldn't break into. So when I walked in, the atmosphere was so warm and friendly and inviting. The interview went very well because all you have to do is be you and come equipped, come with what they need. So I was asked if I had taken their typing test, and I said no. The office manager said, go downstairs, tell me where to go, take the typing test, go home and call me at 3 o'clock. I did that. I had 85 words a minute with 2 errors. Go figure. But I had been a speed typist, like a production typist, for many years, so it was easy. I get to my mother's house because I couldn't even go home. I was so pumped up. So I stopped at Mom's and had lunch. I'm going to try to speed this up. Told her about the great interview that I had. I keep looking over there. I'll get better. Look here. Told her about the interview and that I have to call back at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock came and people, I was afraid. All of a sudden I was afraid. And my mother says, are you going to make the call? And I said, I can't. She said, why not? I said, I'm afraid. She said, you mean to tell me you went there, you made the call to them, you went for an interview, you took the test, you were told to call back, you did all that in preparation for this, and now you want to drop the ball? She said, you get on my phone, house phone, and call. So I did. When I called, the office manager got on the line and said, oh, so you called back. That must mean you still want the job. I said, well, yes. She said, good, you're hired. And we're giving Christmas parties for the next 2 weeks, so you can stop in, but we won't be able to show you how to do the work. So report in on January 2nd. And so I did. It was the best 5 years of my life. I never imagined, and they found out what my inner thoughts were. They told me this. In our state, we have Native Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans, Polish Americans, Irish Americans. Why were you concerned about being an African American? You know what I told them? Now I'm offended because now I'm not special. Now I'm not special? And they cracked up. They laughed at me for weeks about that. The other thing was, my boss was a tall gentleman, stately, kind, insisted on you calling him by his first name. So one day I asked, who is this gentleman that walks through and, so cordial and warm? They said, oh, he's our senator, he's a United States senator. Well, they had to call a nurse. I hyperventilated. Do you know for 30 days I was in that nice office and did not know I worked on Capitol Hill? I got stories, people, but I want you to be able to take a break, breathe, have some coffee, fix dinner, or whatever. But stay tuned. I'll let you know when I'm coming back with part 2 of my other message that's meant to show you who you are, because there's more to you than you see in the mirror. And everything you've been through in life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all prepared you not only for who you are and where you are now, but where you're going. I could tell you some stories. My email is D for Diane, McNair, MC, N as in Nancy, A-I-R, like the football player and the astronaut. D McNair at AOL.com. My website is, again, on the subject I shared with you, www.peoples, with an S, rights, with an S, advocate.com. Phone number, want that? 301-641-6554. And as a last note, the work I do for you is nationwide. Why is that? Because Congress represents the entire United States. If you're from Texas, call me. If you're from Oklahoma, call me. Because, as you can see, I'm not afraid to talk. I'm not afraid to bring your case before the people who, bring it before the people who can make a difference. And so, because I did the work, I can pretty well vet your case to see if it merits their attention. So I think I've given you everything and held you down a little longer than I wanted to, but I hope you got something out of what I had to say. So I'll see you next time. Until then.